Hey everyone, welcome back to the Battle of Kernstown. This is the last turn, the 1900 hours turn. This is something a little different. I've just played through the last turn myself off camera because it's, the holidays and didn't really have enough time to be messing about with the camera, and I usually play slower when I'm recording myself, so I just wanted to get this one out there, get this scenario finished, and show you guys what it looked like at the end of it all. Basically, it's all gone kind of horribly wrong for Jackson at this point. I haven't quite finished the scenario. There's still a couple of AMs left. You'll see Jackson still has an activation, but I think the battle is pretty well decided. So each side, I'll start from the beginning. Each side got a efficiency pool of 1 activation. So Jackson, of course, gets 2. Shields / Kimball gets 1. Jackson first pulled a bunch of his artillery, and we only had the Rockbridge artillery, but they did a good job of beating back Sullivan's brigade. If you remember last turn, they took this stone wall from the Confederates. Rockbridge artillery and Burke's 42nd Virginia were able to basically cause a whole bunch of disorder and force them to retreat. So Rockbridge did good there on this flank, but then it kind of went all horribly wrong up here on Sandy Ridge. So Tyler moved forward his brigade, at least whatever was left that wasn't collapsed. The 29th Ohio did a shock attack on Garnett and the 33rd Virginia in this Stonewall hex. Garnett retreated before shock because in order for the Confederates to shift to victory, what's it called? So because if we look at the victory conditions, at the end of the game, the Confederates have to occupy all the Stonewall hexes to shift the level of victory outcome 2 levels. And obviously we already lost this hex. We don't have this hex. So holding this hex wouldn't have done anything except potentially start a rout situation where, the 33rd Virginia gets routed in shock combat, then that daisy chains into the rest of the brigade, or its neighbors at least. So Garnett thought he would pull back, and Jackson is already writing up the dispatch to arrest him. And so the 29th Ohio managed to get into that Stonewall hex. I think this West Virginia regiment, the 1st West Virginia, wasn't able to get into shock combat, but it shot a little bit. I think it disrupted one of the units over here. The 7th Indiana tried shocking 2, or I guess it was 3 regiments, the 1st Virginia Battalion, the 21st Virginia, and the 4th Virginia, which were occupying these 2 hexes. And it was a bloody standoff. The 7th Indiana had to retreat. They lost 3 steps. The Confederates held, but they were disordered, which allowed Kimball to advance his. So the 8th Ohio split into 2 battalions to attack the 3-strength 4th Virginia, or to shock the 4th-strength 4th Virginia, which is in this hex. And then Kimball led the 14th Indiana. So the 8th Ohio battalions were in these 2 hexes. The 14th Indiana was in this hex, and together they shocked into these 2 hexes. So the Confederates attempted to retreat before shock. So the 27th Virginia, which was in this hex, retreated successfully before shock because they were in good order. However, the 4th Virginia was already disordered, and when they attempted to retreat before shock, they failed their retreat before shock second disorder die roll. And you'll see retreat before infantry shock, if you fail, you're routed. And the 4th Virginia failed its check and was routed. The 4th Virginia's route started the daisy chain. So the next unit over was the 21st Virginia. It failed, and it rallied as well. And then thankfully the other units passed their check. So that collapsed this section of Jackson's line. Kimball's 2 regiments were able to move forward, and then they basically now have control of the 3 victory hexes, which will, so now these 2 shifts negate each other. So the Confederates will have at least 1 but less than 6 of the Stonewall hexes. So I don't think Fulkerson is going to be pushed out because Kimball doesn't have any more activations. And the Union occupies these 3 hexes, which are these 3 on Sandy Ridge. So those 2 shifts cancel each other out. And then there was no brigade that was combat ineffective, and nobody killed enough cavalry. I think the Union killed off maybe 1 Confederate artillery gun, I think, in the Allegheny battery maybe. So the result is going to be a draw because Jackson with his 1 AM is just probably going to try rallying these disordered units. He's not going to counterattack, even if he assumes that, because he has to assume that Shields has more activations, and he's going to want to probably hold on to these hexes over here. So he might just keep retreating these guys and take up maybe position along this stone wall, this tree line, and hopefully Burke's over here can hold back Sullivan's brigade long enough for the rest of this turn. So that's a conclusion for this scenario, First Battle of Kernstown. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to try to play through the entire 1862 campaign, so eventually I'm going to pull out the First Battle of Winchester. We'll see when that happens, hopefully soon. Hopefully everybody learned a little something from this playthrough. Let me know in the comments if you would do anything differently strategically, or if you're expecting something different. I know I'm a little bit cautious when I play. I don't really go balls to the wall and do a lot of shot combat or take any risks, and that's just a symptom of playing yourself on camera because you don't want to look like an idiot, so you tend to be a little bit more cautious, I find. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that playthrough, and I will see you on the next battlefield.